All right, good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful Friday here. If you're here in San Diego, we finally got our weather back, and it went from cold to apparently hot. And but I'm happy with my short sleeve shirts and not having to wear a sweater all day. Tariq's even in his t-shirt, so we're comfortable today. So wanted to welcome everyone again. Danny Fitzgerald with the San Diego Imperial Small Business Development Center Network. This is our monthly Meet the Lenders. Great opportunity for business owners like yourselves to be able to kind of learn more about what's happening in the capital markets, see the variety of really good lenders that are out there. And as we'll talk about, I'm sure some of the lenders will bring up, watch out for some predatory situations and so forth. But what's important is to be able to understand that there's a lot of great lenders out there who want to work with you and have a passion for assisting small businesses, just like we do at the Small Business Development Center. We're able to have these programs. This Meet the Lenders is sponsored by CDC Small Business Finance, Marble Bridge Funding, United Midwest Savings, Pacific Premier Bank, LendSpark, Primary Funding, Founders First Capital, Civic Communities, and Banner Bank. So what I also want to do is we are also a resource partner of the U.S. Small Business Administration. It is in part due to the SBA of our funding that we're able to exist as a Small Business Development Center. We have Lucy Montgomery from the San Diego District Office. So she has some updates and other great information. So I'll turn it over to Lucy.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to share my screen really quickly. I appreciate that. Hopefully we won't have any problems. Let me know when you see my screen, please.
Looks good, Lucy.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So I'm Lucy Montgomery from your local office of the Small Business Administration right here in San Diego. We cover San Diego and Imperial County. And I wanted to give some updates on the EIDL loan. If you have an economic injury disaster loan from COVID, now's the time you probably have to start making your payments. You do have probably 28 more years to make these payments. So you want to go ahead and sign up for the new SBA loan portal. If you signed up for the complicated, confusing one, good news, this one's better. We're constantly improving, and we now have one central phone number for these COVID EIDL loans right here on my slide, if you want to take a picture of it really quick. So go ahead and get yourself on there so you can keep making your payments. If, for example, you do need a deferment, you can also reach out to disaster customer service and work on that. The SBA is celebrating 70 years in 2023 of helping businesses start, grow, expand, and recover. And how we do that is by working in your community, particularly on needing access to capital. And how the SBA helps may be different than what you think. We do help with the direct disaster loans, like during COVID, as you might know. But we also do SBA back loans, like loan guarantees. We help with private investors, research and development awarded funds, and surety bonds. This particular presentation is about SBA guaranteed loans, and how this works is through your lending partner, which you'll get to know on this call, several reputable San Diego lending partners. They make the loan directly to the small business. So where's the SBA? The SBA guarantees this loan from the lending partner. The SBA works with these lenders to offer microloans and SBA backed loans so that the lender can offer competitive terms, lower down payments, flexible overhead requirements, and also require some counseling and education so that the business can grow and thrive. So the SBA back loan can help you with basically anything in your loan, including exporting, launching, growing, purchasing, renovating. The different kinds of loan programs that the SBA offers are the 504 loan, which is for purchasing buildings for the most part, or large equipment. Good news on that is it seems complicated, but you only need about 10% down on an owner-occupied building, so that's wonderful. Our flagship loan is the 7A. We do community advantage and international trade loans, including for exporting. And microloans are loans under $50,000 for your super small micro businesses. Down here in the stormy rain cloud, we hope we never have to go to, but we are here in case of an emergency for disasters as well. And that's when we do direct lending. You can go to our lender match online, and there is the SBA.gov line. However, based on our experience, you've been a lot more successful and increase your chance of actually securing the loan to use one of our SBA resource partners like the SBDC. They can help you with business plans, expense sheets, financial statements, and projections to help you get prepared before you see one of these lenders. And they're going to talk to you about getting prepared. We have a resource partner like 1,400 throughout the nation, and I'm going to give you where the ones in San Diego and Imperial County are on this page. So if you want to take a picture of their websites, this program is brought to you by your SBDC, your local SBDC. So they most certainly have information about access to capital. And speaking of your local SBDC, I want to give just a little bit of kudos this morning. The SBA has announced today our local 2023 Small Business Week awardees, and we're certainly proud to announce Danny Fitzgerald and your SBDC as a regional winner from the SBA for Small Business Development Center Excellence and Innovation Award. So that's wonderful. So that's regional. So that's a big deal. Your SBA is quite amazing. And I'm sorry, your SBDC, we're also amazing, but your SBDC right here in San Diego and Imperial are amazing. They're actually award winning. So please take advantage of their services. And it would be I can't help but also note that, as I mentioned, there were several reputable lenders on this call. One of our financial services champions of the year is on this call, and that's Miriam Torres Baltes. She is from CDC Small Business Finance, and I think you'll hear from her again in this call. But I want you can nominate. You can nominate next year around December if you have a financial champion or a small business awardee. This event will be held on Tuesday, May 9th. I'm getting a little over my time, so I want to thank you very much and stop sharing my screen so you can go and find out your exciting news. And I also want to thank you and encourage you for being on this call so that you can learn all you need to know about access to capital. Thank you so much, Danny, and congratulations.
Thank you very much, Lucy. Really, it's the team of 120 advisors that we have region-wide through San Diego and Imperial counties that do all the fantastic work. And they're really the ones who deserve all the kudos. But absolutely, congratulations to Miriam. She's a great partner. I know she has a passion for small businesses. So we're going to go ahead and move into our panel now. As always, we just start out with go ahead and introduce yourselves and where you're at, and we'll get moving along. So why don't we go ahead and start with you, Tariq, and we'll keep rolling on from there.
Morning, everybody. My name is Tariq Ahadi. I work at US Bank. So I'm a senior business relationship manager. We can provide financing. We've just, for those that aren't aware, we've just acquired Union Bank. I'm actually located in San Marcos, but I cover the whole of the San Diego area. So from my perspective, I don't have any restrictions servicing business clients.
Fantastic. And Gustavo.
Good morning, everybody. Gustavo Bedard here. I'm the Economic Director for Civic Community Partners. We are a community development financial institution. Basically, it's a nonprofit lending institution. We don't take deposits. Thank you very much. Look forward to meeting everybody. Thank you.
And DeWitt.
Thanks, Danny. Good morning, everyone. I'm DeWitt. I'm a Senior Vice President with Pacific Premier Bank. We're a $22 billion bank headquartered in Irvine with branches from San Diego up to Canada, a couple branches in Arizona, a couple branches in Nevada. And we really focus on small business banking and lower middle market banking, which really means a business that could be doing less than $1 million in sales all the way up to $100 million in sales. And we do loans from stuff as small as 50,000 lines of credit all the way up to $50 million lines of credit. And those could be conventional loans, those could be state guaranteed loans, those could be SBA loans. So whatever the lending need is, we really have you covered from a full spectrum of products. Thanks.
Fantastic. And Fred.
Good morning, everybody. Fred Crispin. I'm Senior Vice President with United Midwest Savings Bank. Myself, along with my son, manage the small loan division for United Midwest Nationwide, providing working capital for startup and existing businesses under the SBA 7A small program. Loan amounts 20,000 up to 150,000.
Thank you. Pete.
Hi, my name is Pete Deegan. I'm with LendSpark. We're located right here in Carlsbad. I've been with us for about 5 years now. And we're basically a private lender that helps work alongside with your bank and other lending institutions for equipment financing needs, working capital, bridge loans, etc. Thank you.
And award-winning Miriam.
Thanks, Danny. Yes, so I work at CDC Small Business Finance, which is part of Momentous Capital, and we've been around for 40 plus years, and we are a nonprofit lender, and we do loans as small as 10,000 in my department and as large as 350,000. The great thing about our loans is that they're only usually about 2% higher than a traditional lender, but we do things that are way out of the box. So, you know, startups, acquisitions, and I'll fill you guys in with some more later.
Fantastic.
And that's it.
Fantastic. And Larissa from Accessity.
Hi, good morning. My name is Larissa Diaz. I am the Business Development Officer for Accessity in Imperial Valley and Coachella Valley. We fund businesses who are starting up from scratch or people who want to grow the business. We do loans for IT holders as well. Our loan amounts go to up to $100,000, no collateral needed or required. And we have no minimum FICO score either. We serve Southern California, and we've been Accessity has been serving Southern California for almost 29 years. We're almost going to be 30 years. So stay tuned for that party going on. And so, yeah, that's what we do. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you. So next, we'll go ahead and kind of introduce a little bit more of what you as a lender do, kind of the products that you provide, you know, that service businesses, time in business, and even if necessary, kind of types of businesses you do or maybe don't work with that fit within kind of some of your model. Why don't we go ahead and start with you, Fred, because yours is real clearly defined.
Yeah, we probably 90% of the loans we fund every month are pure startups in the small loan division. We provide 10-year financing for working capital. And we take what makes our product unique is we take a lien on the business assets and that's it. So in a lot of cases, these smaller franchises or smaller businesses that we're funding basically don't have a lot of tangible assets. It's basically an unsecured loan.
Fantastic. And Tarek?
Yeah, so from our perspective, we're a full service bank. So, you know, we can assist with business deposit accounts through to, you know, conventional and SBA type lending. We have different groups within US Bank as well. So we can assist dentists and veterinarians and optometrists and ophthalmologists through our practice finance group. We have an equipment finance group, and we also have a manufacturing vendor services group. So they're specialist departments that assist specialist type businesses with loans, you know, from 150,000, you know, all the way up to, you know, $5 million.
Fantastic. And Pete?
Yeah, so we have two main products. I'd say the equipment financing and then our bridge loan product. The equipment financing product is what you would think of, you know, a Bobcat, dump truck for a construction company, medical equipment, etc. We typically do them on a 5-year term, very little money down. Again, we are getting these referred from maybe like a US Bank or Wells Fargo who it doesn't quite fit their box, or sometimes the Bobcat dealership themselves. So that's where we fit in that waterfall for the equipment product. We don't do startups. You do need to have 2 years time in business. And as far as the loan amounts for that, we typically are in the 50 to 250K space. So we're helping out the smaller type business. For our bridge loan product, that one is a little bit more tailored and also a little bit larger of a loan size. Our average for that product is around 750 to 1 million. And that's more so for the really good example is if you have an acquisition, if you're maybe buying another property, another hotel, and you have a senior loan facility, and we would be kind of the guys that come behind that. And, you know, we don't mind having other assets or even unsecured loans and being behind your senior debt facility and just helping you get a little bit extra money. So that's usually that product, but I'd say the equipment is more for your small business needs. That's where we fit in.
Perfect. Thank you. And DeWitt.
So with Pacific Premier, we really don't focus on any particular industry. Have clients from virtually every industry you can imagine, no illicit ones, but manufacturers, professional service companies, marketing companies, not too many retail companies, distributors. And the types of loans that we offer that are what we would consider like a small business loan would be things up to 150,000, and we actually have a program that goes up to 150, makes it very easy for a business to qualify based on your most recent tax return, your most recent business tax return, most recent year-end financials, year-to-date financials. And those loans, they could be for a variety of purposes. It could be working capital. It could be a 3, 5-year, maybe even a 7-year term loan for equipment. It could even be for a small, like little business acquisition. If you need a 5-year term loan, that's only 150K to buy another business. And then everything above 150,000 is really what I would consider like customized. Like there's no, preset, this is what's required. It's going to all be based on your business's cash flow, what kind of collateral is out there, and kind of the general business track record. So the track record I would look for is a minimum of 3 years in business. So if you've been in business or incorporated, formed less than 3 years ago, I probably wouldn't be a very good fit. But if you've been in business for at least 3 years, then we could be a good fit.
Fantastic. And Miriam, what about at CDC?
Yeah, so at CDC in my department, we offer loans from 10,000, as I mentioned, to 350,000. The nice thing about those loans is they can be for a startup business, so pre-revenue, and they can also be kind of any phase. So maybe you started 3 months ago, 6 months ago, or even a few years ago, you were developing your product and you're just starting to actually operate. Those are all good candidates for our startup loan products. And then we also have, we can help you if you're going to acquire a business, so either a franchise or let's say a mom and pop shop. And then if you're just an existing business owner that doesn't quite fit the pocket for a traditional lender, then we may be able to help you as well. Some of the benefits of our loans is that we do not require collateral, so you don't have to own a home, own a vehicle. Also, we do not have a minimum credit score requirement, which is amazing and allows for a lot more opportunities, which I love. Another thing I wanted to share today is in addition to those loan programs, we actually have a lot more. We have a huge pocket of other loans that we lend from 350 to 5 million, and then loans from 5 million to 13, 15 million. So, reach out. Everything about us, we're a nonprofit lender, is, mission oriented. So if it is that you're a women business owner, you're African American, you're Hispanic, maybe you're just a startup business owner, we have a lot of different options, even for commercial real estate as well. We have a program where instead of we still have our 504, which allows you to put 10% when you want to purchase real estate, commercial real estate. But we also have our 95 Empower loan, which you only need to put 5% down if you're interested in purchasing a building for your business. So just a little bit more. I just kind of wanted to make you guys aware that we have other options. But of course, I love the department that I'm in because we really have a lot of wiggle room. A lot of people will ask me sometimes, like, how do I know if I qualify with you for your Community Advantage 7A programs, which is a loan that goes up to 350. And the easiest way to say it is we're more of a cash flow lender. So we don't have a bunch of kind of rules and guidelines that you have to fit in besides cash flow. So if you're a new business owner, so if you're a startup, that means we're going to look at your personal cash flow. We don't want you to use our loan to pay your salary, so don't quit your job. But you could also have, a spouse maybe that will help support you while you start your business, or some money in savings. So, there's other ways that we can look at, but really what we're looking at is either your business cash flows, the business you're going to purchase cash flows, or you personally cash flow if you're going to start up a business.
Fantastic. Thanks, Miriam. And Gustavo, what about at Civic?
Thank you, Danny. Well, as a CDFI, as I mentioned, a community development financial institution, we're chartered by the Treasury Department to be very mission driven. You already heard that, Miriam, who does a terrific job through the CDC. Similar to them, we're there to promote a program called a Building Business Success Loan Program. It is our business focused initiative for minority business entities or disadvantaged business entities. It's primarily focused, not necessarily for startups, but quite honestly, if you have enough experience to be awarded a contract through an anchor institution, let's say like SeaWorld or Sony or a school district, we want to be able to help you fulfill that contract without having to be burdened by the weight of being paid. So the primary purpose of our loan is not necessarily to check on your credit, because we're not necessarily FICO driven as well. We're mostly a make sense type of a lender when it comes to helping you fulfill your contract. So I'll share a story later on. And you'll give us an opportunity to give you kind of examples to the audience. But primarily our strength is in the deal. So every deal is going to be slightly different. We'll land anywhere between $50,000 to $500,000. We'll have to make sense of the contract that you've been awarded. The monies could be used just to fulfill, through materials, to hire people, through your obviously new staff, equipment. Clearly, at the end of the day, we just want to make sure that the deal makes sense to you so that you can carry and fulfill the contract. We're very amenable to making the payments comfortable for you. So whether it's amortized or just interest only, it really depends on the length of your contract. So every deal, every awarded opportunity that you get or earn through a bidding process, we're there to kind of help you make sure that you can, again, the magic word is fulfill your contract and make sure that you have enough capital to do so. And I think that's, again, I mentioned working capital, equipment, new personnel. Not necessarily for startups, but if you are experienced in what you're doing and properly bonded and you have an award, it's very likely that we'll be interested in helping you out and be successful in doing so. Thank you.
Fantastic. And Larissa, you talked a little bit about some of the stuff with Accessity, but you can go a little bit more detail, especially since we have all of you now.
Yes, of course. So we here at Accessity, we lend up to $100,000. You can use it for working capital expansion. We're one of the few lenders who are actually lending to trucker industries. So if you are, or if you know someone who is in the trucking industry who's wanting to buy a new truck or additional trucks, trailers to expand the business, we can definitely do that. We have restaurants and pretty much like a lot of right, like Miriam said, or Fred, we do ask for, have that other source of income to be able to sustain that monthly payment. But we can fund someone that says, hey, I'm just here to open my business. I've been making tacos for, all my life. I've been selling to friends and family. I don't even know how to start that business, but the SBDC guide me to that, and I just have my fictitious business name, and I would like capital to pay for permits, pay for food truck. We can definitely fund that loan. So if you're looking to start the business from scratch, that's a go. If you're looking to grow the business, we do look at your last 2 years of tax returns just to make sure that the business is profitable, and we can make sure that that will be a good move for your business. So that's what we do here at Accessity.
Fantastic. Thanks, Larissa. And so wanted each of you to kind of talk about some key things that businesses need to be thinking about as they're looking at capital. You've kind of talked about it and relate to your products, which is absolutely, that's, please do gear it towards that direction. But businesses, they're going to be in different phases, and there's always degrees of preparation. So some of these tips that you really would like to do and some things that they may need to avoid. Why don't we go ahead and start with you, DeWitt?
Thanks, Danny. Well, let's see. That's such a great question. Tips to do, things to avoid. So the first thing I would say is in this economic environment where I think everyone would agree there's heightened risks out there. We don't know exactly, what's going to happen 3 months, 6 months, 12 months out. Who knows if rates are going to be higher in 6 months, lower in 6 months. So for a business owner trying to kind of plan ahead, the first thing I would say is plan ahead. So in other words, if you think you might need a line of credit, but you're not sure if you need a line of credit, the time to kind of have that discussion with the SBDC or with your banker is probably yesterday, you know, to make sure that if you do need it, you are able to obtain it now, so that later on, you know, regardless what happens with rates, regardless what happens with the economy, if it's something that you need, you probably should think about setting it up sooner than later. The other advice that I would have is definitely have all of your financials ready to go. So in other words, it's almost May at this point, 5 months into the year. So hopefully if you don't have your 2022 taxes filed, hopefully you have at least 2022 year-end business financials, if not year-to-date financials through March 31st. So those things are going to be really, really important. So first thing, plan ahead. You know, if you don't need a line of credit now, but you think you might need a line of credit in 3 months from now or 6 months from now, you should definitely start having that conversation with the SBDC or with your banker sooner than later. And second, just have all of your information ready. It's so important to have kind of your finger on the pulse of how your company is performing, more so now than ever. Thanks, Danny.
Fantastic. Thanks, DeWitt. And Miriam, what about you? You always have some great tips.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to go really back to the basics. It really, really helps when they first talk to a business advisor at SBDC, because you know us all so well. And you guys take the time to get to know the client, get to know their business, and get to know who is the right lender for them. So, I mean, all the time, whether it's Sean or any of the other people over there, you send me someone, it's like they're ready to go. So that means you've worked with them for a while. So great resource. So make sure to take advantage of that resource. And then I would say, make sure that you're being honest when you're having a conversation with one of us. We all work together. We all want what's best for you, and we're all not going to be the perfect match for you. So we don't like to be surprised, and you don't want to waste your time by maybe not telling us that you have a bankruptcy or whatever it might be. We'll find out either at the beginning or at the end, and so there might be a better fit for you. So that, I think, is my biggest kind of tip for people, is to make sure to be honest. And also, when you have a conversation with us, make sure to be prepared. So make sure to know an idea of what your credit score is. You can go to Credit Karma really quickly and not get an actual, hit on your credit. It's what's called a soft pull, and you'll have an idea of where your credit score is at. That is something that every lender is going to ask you, what's your credit score? How much money are you looking for, and what do you want to use the money for? So those are important questions to remember, to be just prepared, whether you're talking to SBDC or you're talking to one of us as the lenders. You kind of want to know your basics, because a lot of our relationship with you is going to be based on, what's considered kind of like your character and the trust that we have in you. And yes, that has to do with your credit and your application, but it also has to do with that initial conversation. So I don't want to say fully, come with a resume or a projection, but having a good idea of what you're talking about. So
Fantastic.
that's
Thanks, Miriam. And Fred, what about you? What tips do you have?
It kind of along the same lines as Miriam, but definitely you need to know what's on your credit report. Make sure there's no things sitting out there that you weren't aware of. And then in addition to that, as most of the deals we do are pure startups, know what it's going to take to get your business open from the standpoint of licensing and cost. Everything about that business, you need to know exactly how much you need to borrow to get that thing up and running and get it past the break-even point.
Fantastic. That is important, Fred. Larissa, what about you?
Yes, so the first thing I would say, know how much money you're going to need. I do get a lot of clients that call me and they want to start a business, and I tell them, how much money do you need for your project? And they tell me, I don't know, how much can you lend me? So that one really triggers and brings red flags to us, and we say, hey, you know what, this client might not be ready. So I do explain to my clients, I said, well, maybe I can lend you $100,000, but can you afford a $2,500 every month? Can you show capacity to repay that with your bank statements? So making sure that you know how much money you need, that your bank statements look healthy. if right now you have $100 in your account and you're looking for a loan, start depositing all the cash. That way you guys can have that, be able to show at least 3 months of you being able to sustain that monthly payment. And just knowing how much you need, because I mean, you don't want to be starting your business. You know, if it's a restaurant, you don't want to, you know, start painting the restaurant, and then, yikes, I forgot that the electricity charged me $2,000 for deposit, you know, and oh, now I have everything, but I don't have the food needed to sell my tacos. Sorry guys, I'm pregnant. I'm just thinking about tacos right now, but you know what I mean? So just knowing about that, and you know, making sure that you know how much money you're going to need. And like Mariam said, going to that SBDC counselor saying, hey, you know, I call Larissa and she asked me how much money I need, but I forgot. Let's review our financials again. You know, can you help me out? Also calling the lenders. If you're going to call me, call Miriam, call Fred, call Pete, you know, interview them to make sure that you're getting the best product or just the best interest for yourself. And like not having everybody run your credit, because if everybody runs your credit, your points are going to lower. And by the time you make up your mind of where you want to go, you could start at a 700 and then you can be at a 600, you know, because you interview like 20 different lenders. So interview them, don't let them run your credit, have money in the bank. Make sure that if you are expanding the business and you are, you know, already working with your tax preparer, make sure that you talk to them and say, hey, tax preparer, I am looking for a loan. Make sure that you don't put me negative, you know, everything, because I'm looking for a loan and I need to make sure that I can show that lender that I'm profitable so they can lend me some cash. So that is the tips that I have.
Fantastic. Thanks, Larissa. And I think we all like tacos, so it's not just you. Tarek, what about you? What tips do you have?
I think everybody else has covered it off, to be honest. Yeah, just be honest. I think Miriam mentioned about a resume, so that's something that actually I would encourage you have, so that you actually have structure to your conversation. What we want to make sure is that, you know, you actually have the industry expertise. So for example, if you're a mechanic, and you know you're skilled as a mechanic, and then you decide that you want to venture into perhaps opening a restaurant, maybe you're not the right fit for that type of industry. So realistically, you want to make sure that you're actually working towards an industry that you have experience and expertise in. So that's why a resume sort of comes into play. And then, you know, it's been mentioned before, I'll mention it again, you know, be honest, you know, don't lie. You know, we have access to a lot of other systems. You know, our underwriters have a lot of access to other systems as well. So from our perspective, you know, we're the first line of defense. So, you know, a lot of us have been doing it for many, many years, and we can smell something rotten a mile off. So, you know, we want to work with you. You know, we want to be able to help you get to where you need to get to. But, you know, being honest and transparent, it goes a long way, because it also helps us when we're having conversations with underwriters. If it's something that's challenging, we can certainly pick it up. And, you know, if we've had that conversation, it's something that we can certainly, you know, relay to the underwriter. So at least they know that we've had an in-depth conversation with that client versus, you know, you don't tell us. And then, you know, we go through that, you know, process, and then it gets picked up, and, you know, you're at that point, your credibility is on the floor.
Fantastic. Gustavo.
Thank you, Danny. Well, I think Terry hit it on the nail, and some of our other colleagues. Obviously, being honest, being truthful on your application is first and foremost essential. You definitely don't want any surprises towards the, you know, in the middle of an underwriting process. But I think personally, from our building business success experience, I would pretty much say that being prepared. I think we've heard that before. Having everything ready to go. Too often, people need money yesterday, and then they come to a particular lender here on the panel, and they're not quite ready. So it just causes delays. You know, if you know that your lender needs certain items to underwrite, you know, tax returns, bank statements, you know, just the list of things that are required, it's good to have them ready and prepared. It just makes the process a little more efficient and better to underwrite and process. So it's just a very simple thing to have in the back of your mind to do, just to make sure that you have an easier go at it and get either a quicker yes or a quicker no. Either way, you're getting a response sooner than later because you're prepared. From the perspective of our building business success, since we are anchor driven, we're very anchor contract driven. We're very focused on the success of the individual when it comes to projections of work. So I'll share a story later on. I know I've mentioned this. I'm very excited to share a particular story with you, Danny, and the folks on the phone. But I think it's important to forecast or project a little bit to understand the cash flow of what you're dealing with from a procurement perspective. I know many of the folks on the phone or on the call may be interested in getting contracts through sources of construction or through vendor supply access contracts. And sometimes you have numerous. We're not necessarily FICO driven. So with that said, we're really much on the focus on the contracts. So if you can help us, and that's, I guess, going back to the level of being prepared, if you can give us a sense of your cash flow or your needs to any of the lenders, I think you'd be better off. I think someone mentioned, if you don't come with an idea of how much money you need, that might be a warning. So projections is something I think I would like to add on. If you have a sense of what you need and how you're going to need it and the cash flow, it goes a long way to helping us champion your loan to an underwriter. Thanks.
Fantastic, Gustavo. And last but not least, Pete.
Thanks. Just to piggyback on what everyone else said, I think really getting the appropriate loan product is more important now than ever. What I mean by that is, let's say you have a unused line of credit, $100,000, you have a good rate, good terms on it. You need to buy a piece of equipment or some sort of expenditure comes up that you could use an equipment loan for. But instead of kind of shopping, you go, oh, I have 100K in my line of credit's unused. I'm just gonna, to pull 50K out, get this Bobcat that I need for this project. And that could really put you in a bad position down the road, especially in this environment where cash is king. So you don't want to exhaust your line of credit when you could have put that on a no money down 5-year loan for a couple hundred, maybe like $1,200 a month, and keep your line of credit open for any kind of turbulence you see down the road. I see that a lot as well. Rates are high right now and I get it, but sometimes customers will come to me and say, thanks, but no thanks. We're just going to buy this cash on hand or use our line of credit. And I think that can be it could put you in a really bad position down the road, rather than just, getting what you need right now, using appropriate financing. It could be factoring, equipment financing. There's a lot of other tools just besides cash and your general term loans that you're getting, which you still need, but save those for any other kind of turbulence down the road. And talk to your SBDC, they'll be able to help you sort through that.
Fantastic. Thanks, Pete. So yes, absolutely. I think that's one of the things. So as you're getting stuff prepared or kind of navigating, seeing what it is you need, we're here to help you get ready for that. We have, plenty of experts that are capital advisors, people that have been ex-lenders, people that have worked in the banking industry, and people that are, professors of finance, et cetera. So that's really what you're going to be able to kind of do as you work with us in terms of getting everything ready. So what I want to do now is the fun part, which is tell us a story. And Gustavo, you've been itching. You've been like previewing this thing, dropping hints. So we'll start with you.
Wow, the pressure. I was just very happy to share that. We just helped a husband and wife team, electricians that have been sole proprietors since 2007. They were I wouldn't say lucky, but very fortunate to have survived the COVID 2 years to 3 years that we were, obviously in lockdown, and they just became incorporated. And during the time of COVID and their survival, they prepared themselves. They prepared themselves very well, became an incorporated company finally, and had their ducks in order. They recently have been awarded, within the last 7 months, 6 distinct contracts. They're booming. They're commercial electricians, so they're doing residential and business building, laying down electrical wiring, obviously for the tenants and for single resident families, residential properties. And they're just, very, very honest, as what you heard, very, they have nothing to hide. They had everything, ready, and they had everything to share. They wore everything on their sleeves as far as what they needed. They had a plan. And although they didn't have very much assets because they don't own their home, they had an opportunity for us to do a state guarantee loan to help them. And I'm very excited about sharing this particular story because For the folks on this particular conference call, they came in through one of the workshops of the SBDC, Danny. They came, they participated in the workshop at Southwestern College earlier in the year. They were very modest in what how their approach to their business was, and very frank and very deliberate. And we're just very happy that we've been able to fund them for, working capital to increase their staff, increase their equipment, increase their vehicles. And now they have about $3.5 million worth of work that they'll be able to fulfill. And we're very happy that we've been able to help them carry the burden, if you will, of waiting to get paid from some of their primes, right? So they're subcontractors. And it's just, this particular flow works, where people come to these calls, they come to the workshops, they come and get your coaching. They call any one of us here on the video conference call. And it's just nice to have a success story as it relates to, people coming and meeting us through either virtual or in person and making it happen. And so everything you heard about being prepared, everything you heard about what their needs are, everything you heard about, getting the coaching and the counseling and the mentorship, it does work. So, for those on the call, take advantage of all the phone numbers and emails that are being passed out on the chat. Every product is slightly different. Not every product fits your needs, but I'm sure the folks on the call here have the solution to your cash flow needs. Thank you, Dan.
Fantastic. That is a great story, Gustavo. It was worth the wait.
Thank you.
So, all right, Pete, what about you? I'm sure you always have some good stories.
I always have some cool ones. I think recently on our bridge loan product, again, this is more for the medium-sized businesses. I just think it's very cool. And we're doing this on a weekly basis, sometimes a couple of them a week, that we're getting $1 million loans funded in 3 to 5 business days, which is pretty unheard of. And on the equipment side, recently we had a textile manufacturer out of South Carolina. So we are a nationwide lender, and they had an opportunity. Their neighbor was going out of business, same industry, to buy their machinery, equipment. We funded about $500,000, so it was a little bit larger than our typical equipment loan size. What was particularly neat about this equipment, it was about 15, 20 years old, and the original manufacturer and vendor came down and they refurbished it all, and it was beautiful. But the traditional banks of the world were not taking the refurbished aspect into play. They were looking at it as a private party seller of very old used textile machinery, and the guy couldn't get a loan. Again, he was going to use cash on hand or his line of credit, other forms of payment to get this thing done. And we were able to get in there and get him no money down, just first payment out the door financing on $500,000 of pretty old textile manufacturing equipment.
That is cool. I like that. Tarek, what about you?
Yeah, it was a business that I actually prospected. I've been prospecting them for the last 2 and a bit years. So it's too long to go into today, but suffice to say, I brought them over from HSBC Bank, and I was working with them on 2 CNC machines, the grinders. So they're a manufacturing company, and we were able to get them, fully financed at $1.4 million. So we were able to close that loan on the 31st of March. This year, and it was great because the actual suppliers were at their factory, were at their premises in Poway on that day when everything was being signed. So they've moved everything over from HSBC and their deposit accounts and stuff like that, and they've opened personal accounts as well. So it's a great win, and they've said that they're going to be looking to potentially purchase a couple more pieces of equipment before the end of 2023. So we'll be looking to assist them as well with that, with those purchases.
Fantastic. That's great. And Larissa.
Yes, so we do have a mutual client, Paleteria La Cachanilla. It's actually going to be their 6-year anniversary. I can't believe it. They started, the guy, he's from the military. He was already retired. He went to the SBDC. He wrote a business plan, financials, and he was looking to grow his income. And he decided to open a paleteria where they sell aguas, frescas, ice cream, snacks, here in Imperial Valley, Paleteria La Cachanilla. And Ceci was able to help him, with the startup costs. and be able to purchase some equipment. Long story short, he already opened a second location where, I mean, it's probably like 4 blocks away, but they're both doing really well. And we also helped him out we were doing COVID loans during the pandemic, so they were able to survive the pandemic as well. And that's just a true testament of someone who really put all their effort in the business and was able to thrive during that COVID years. And we're super when I see him, I'm like, you're such a great worker. His family's always there. I always tell my clients, if you have a wife and kids, please know that you are all have to be in the same page, because you're all going to be working that business. So it's really awesome to go into the paleteria and always seeing his wife and the kids helping out. So that's a mutual success story that I'm always going to be super proud of.
That's fantastic. We've got tacos and ice cream from Larissa. So, all right, Fred.
Yeah, recently we've had several businesses that we funded originally back at the beginning of COVID that have been very successful and are expanding their territories, buying additional territories for their franchises and coming back in for additional loans. And that's something we love to do, to see a business has been successful, and we'll provide that working capital to expand it even further.
That's fantastic. Great to see all the business growth. DeWitt.
All right, so I've got two recent success stories that I think are pretty applicable to a lot of small business owners. So, and one tip that I forgot about that I just realized is that easy money isn't always the best money. And what I mean by that, I think probably almost every small business owner, when they start operations, they're up and running, they realize they need capital. What's the first kind of capital that most small business owners get? Probably credit cards, because that's really all that's out there. So one success story had a client, and this client, they've had their company for 5+ years. It's a small business though, so not a lot of banks were interested in providing a line of credit. In fact, no bank was interested in giving them a line. But the bigger bank that they were with gave them a $50,000 credit card, and another credit card company gave them another $50K card. So they had $100K in credit cards. They had $50,000 as a balance on the credit card, and they carried some of that balance for the past 6 months while rates have been going up. And then all of a sudden they get a large contract. That's a multi-year contract from a publicly traded company. And then they realize, we're not going to be able to fulfill this contract unless we get a line of credit. We probably need to pay off or pay down some of these credit cards to reduce the amount of debt payments we're sending out the door. So fast forward 45 days after I was introduced to the company, we approved a 100K line. We used the line or the proceeds to pay off the 50K balance on their cards. So now the owner's cash flow is a little bit better. He's got $50,000 extra on the line that he can now use to service this large contract that he got. So that's one recent success story. The other one is also a small loan. So this was a $250,000 loan that I did for an existing client that wanted to do an acquisition, and they wanted to buy another company. And this particular client, the industry was property management. The challenge was that the company didn't cash flow the loan. The company that they were buying didn't have any financials, or at least wasn't willing to provide them to the bank at the time. And we really had to put our thinking hat on and figure out, how can we get comfortable providing this loan when we know that there may not be enough cash flow? And the long and short of it, fast forward 45 days, and we're signing loan docs in a week, funding a loan to escrow, completing the acquisition, and have a really happy client that really feels like we've got their back, and we're helping them to grow their business and create new jobs.
That's fantastic. No, and it was good. I like that you talked about that easy money is not good money oftentimes. And so you need to watch out, and it's things like, I think Larissa talked about, where you need to, regardless of who you're borrowing money from, ask a lot of questions and get to know kind of everything and what that particular process is. I think I know every single one of you agree with those statements. So without a doubt. All right, Miriam, what about you? You always have some great stories.
Yeah, I'm going to share too. So I'll be brief though. So there was one referral that I got from you guys that you guys had worked with this client. This was actually just a small loan for $50,000 under our micro program. And this client had, my goodness, I think he literally came to me like 3 years ago from your referral source and from one of the business advisors at SBDC in Imperial Valley. And he had some challenges, so I was not able to approve him the first time, but I did give him a roadmap, and you guys, worked with him, and he came back, I think like a year later. We were almost there, and about 6 months ago, he came back just perfect. And you guys actually did the grant for him for $10,000. I forgot what program that was under, but it really helped him as well to qualify. So this borrower was just so honestly resilient, and just all about working with his business advisor and just really getting to the point where he could like make his dream come true. And it's just really exciting to see just his passion is karate and jitsu and all of that stuff. And he just was dying to do that for his community and leave that as a legacy for his children. And honestly, it's just so heartwarming. I don't think I'll ever forget this client and just how much you guys helped him and how willing he was to like find the way to make his dream, come true. So that's one of the clients for $50,000. And then I have a recent client that actually just funded about a month ago, and she also is resilient. I love stories about people that don't give up, honestly. It warms my heart. But this client, she had a friend, her best friend, that passed away of breast cancer. And this is very impactful for her. And after a year of, mourning and wanting to be an advocate, and just doing something different, she actually ended up hiring some scientists. And she came up with a powder deodorant that's just like vegan, cruelty-free, it has no toxic chemicals. And she came up with a line of this powder deodorant and soaps and natural dry shampoos, and she just really wanted to honor her best friend and do something so that other women, aren't more prone to getting breast cancer, right, through the toxic deodorants that are available, everywhere. So anyways, she had also come to me a few years ago, and we were not able to help her. I gave her a little bit of a roadmap. She worked with SBDC, and then she came back and we funded her loan last month. So it wasn't a huge loan, it was $150,000, but it just means the world to her. We refinanced some debt. We gave her some more working capital to hire some more people, and just a true success story. And like I said, both of these clients are just so resilient. They did not give up. They gathered all the help that they could get, and they got to getting to the point where they needed to be. So that's why those are my favorite stories.
No, that's fantastic, Miriam, and I appreciate that. I mean, you can hear the passion of each and every one of the lenders here, that they want to help you, the small business owner. And that's why we do this on a monthly basis, for you to be able to meet the lenders and see that there's a lot of good lenders out there. But what it is you need to understand that the lenders are people and that you want to work with them. It's not just something you fill out quickly online to get that quick and easy money. Because again, like DeWitt said, that there's a lot of danger out there. If it looks too good to be true, it is too good to be true. If it looks really good and you're questioning if it's too good to be true, it is too good to be true. Those are key things. You want to make sure you talk to a person. Here are 7 fantastic examples of lenders, and there are hundreds out there. So make sure you do that. That's what we're here at SBDC. We were able to work with lenders, introduce them, as many of them said, get small businesses ready for the right amount of lending and so forth. So really do appreciate everyone getting on today. Tarek, Fred, DeWitt, Pete, Larissa, Gustavo, and Miriam. Again, we're at the SBDC. They've all put their contact information in the chat box, and it's looks like we're going to have some fantastic weather finally here in San Diego, because we've had 90 days straight of rain. So we want our San Diego weather back. So everyone enjoy, and make sure you get some tacos and ice cream this weekend.
I sure will, or my baby's gonna come out with a face of chocolates and ice cream.
And call
Bye.
the
Bye-bye.
SBDC. Call the SBDC.